We're just about to get started here. Hopefully you guys are having a wonderful weekend start, as it is 8:04 here in the morning in wonderful sunny Florida. And let's get started. We have a lot of exciting news in the PC and tech world. Seems like it's been really focused this week around more of the handheld devices. Now, we do have some more exciting news about some motherboards that are going to be released, and it's actually not going to be from who you think, actually, which I will announce soon, and I think a lot of you may be interested in it. So let's get started with the whole handheld consoles, or the handheld PCs. It seems that ASUS ROG Ally finally has dropped their line, which was, I believe it was just yesterday, in fact, where ASUS ROG Ally Xbox Edition and their ASUS ROG Ally X Xbox Edition. I know it's quite a mouthful to say. They both ended up dropping. Now, the price ranges are going to be quite different between the two. Now, the Xbox Ally is going to be around $699.99, and the Xbox Ally X Xbox Edition is going to be priced around $1,000 USD. Now, is it going to be a large difference compared to the original version, which was going to be the ASUS ROG Ally? That we will get into a little bit if you're a little bit curious about the specifications. If you are thinking of purchasing one, it's down in the pre-orders down below in the description box, and feel free to join in on Discord. Now, if you have any questions when it comes to PCs and tech, feel free to ask, especially if you're looking to do some sort of PC build. I'm hoping that everybody out there is interested in doing a PC build sometime soon, or if you're in the middle of one, feel free to ask. I know we had quite a few guys doing some PC builds, and it seems that they were getting a little bit stuck in the BIOS areas, but it seems that they've already bypassed it for the most part. I think they're going to be okay. I think they found their issue. If they come in, they can tell you exactly what it is. I don't want to put it out under the limelight if not necessary. So, what's up, Amir? Good to see you. Yes, I'm glad you brought that up. So, version 2201, he is on top of when it comes to ASUS, NVIDIA. He will be the first one to let you know, and especially Battlefield 6. So, Amir brought up a good point for the ASUS motherboards that are the Z890s. They did drop a new BIOS update. And believe it or not, ASUS isn't the only one that decided to drop a BIOS update. But guess who else is dropping updates when it comes to BIOS? AROG. So if you have an AROG board, make sure to update your BIOS. They actually dropped a new one. It seems that they are almost dropping like an update almost like every 2 weeks for the most part. I think they're really trying to avoid this whole mess when it comes to the 9800X3D and their boards. And it also seems, and speaking on the motherboard section or the motherboard side, we can say that Sapphire is actually in the works. Now, it hasn't been quite officially announced, but there has been evidence that they actually put some trademarks up for a couple brand new boards. And it's going to get quite exciting because it's not just going to be a B650, a B850 board, but in fact, it's going to be an X870 board. So I can't wait to share a little bit more details with you about it, because I think some of the features that Sapphire Nitro Plus, which I believe it's going to be called, it's got to be called something crazy, but I believe it's going to be like the Sapphire Nitro Plus. It's going to have a feature that everybody has been looking for, or it's going to be one of those things where it's starting to get more popular. Rehack, what's up? Hey, yeah, I checked it out. I saw it. It wasn't bad, but it just doesn't look. But it just doesn't look like Jonah, unfortunately. But I did see it, Rehack. Who invented the? Yeah, I know. That's just a devious name. The Ally Xbox X. But no, in fact, now I'm saying Xbox X. It's the Ally X Xbox Edition, and then you have you have like so many X's in it, and then you have the standard one, which is the Ally X Xbox Edition, but you can't really separate it too long, because then it's going to sound like the other reiteration. Hopefully they think of a better title than that. Eventually there is going to be a title what everybody is going to call it. It's best just to call it just like that. Maybe the X edition versus the standard edition. It would make a lot more sense compared to saying the full out title. But this is the feature that I wanted to tell everybody about that these Sapphire boards are going to have. Remember how ASUS has the BTF line, and then you have Gigabyte that has the Stealth line, and MSI that also has Project Zero. And you're probably thinking, exactly what am I talking about, for anybody who is unfamiliar with any of those titles. And what's special about those boards is that the motherboards that are under these names, the BTF, Project Zero, all these names, they all have hidden connectors onto the back of the motherboard. So Sapphire is actually going to do something like that. That is what the trademark's going to be. All hidden connections in the back. And so allegedly there's going to be something a bit new, which I'm really looking forward to seeing what Sapphire can really accomplish, because then they might get more people on the train practically with getting a Sapphire motherboard, because it's going to be quite enticing. And I can imagine the price to performance is probably going to be quite excellent. So, hey, so Sapphire is coming out with that motherboard, and just know out there that ASUS does have an update. Anybody out there that has a Z890 board, thanks to Amir, he did bring it up that there is a new BIOS update, a new BIOS revision. Make sure to update your motherboard. More than likely, it's going to improve, especially when it comes to your processor speeds and your speeds when it comes to your hardware. It's going to be the same with the AROG motherboard. They have a brand new BIOS update, and it's more than likely to control the voltage issues that they were having for some odd reason on these boards. Seems like it's a never ending issue. So if you are thinking of a motherboard, typically I recommend, if you're thinking of ASRock, I typically recommend staying away from the Taichi line if you are thinking of building a 9800 X3D build, or if you're thinking of doing some sort of Ryzen build. Now with the Ally X box edition, the standard one, now this is going to be the white one. Now if anybody is interested in that Ally specifically, it's going to kind of look like this one. I know this one kind of has a case cover on it, but this Ally here, right, it's kind of dusty. I gotta clean it. I had a friend borrow it. He said he had a lot of fun playing on the airline's back on the way here. He said the thing's a monster, and he absolutely loves it. And this is the original one. Still plays great in 2025. So for anybody out there, oh, let me see something here. For some reason the camera decided to focus on the PC instead of me. But I get it. But anyway, he was playing the ASUS ROG Ally, and as he was playing the ASUS ROG Ally, he noticed that it was excellent for the most part, no type of issues. And if you're thinking of getting a brand new, say the ASUS Xbox Standard Edition, and you're curious if that's going to exceed expectations, it's going to exceed more if it's improved over the Ally X, which was the original one from 2024. It was practically a reiteration of the Ally, which had 24 gigabytes of LPDDR5 and a much larger battery, about 80 watt hours. And what else? I had 2 USB-C ports in there. Still had practically the Ryzen Z1 Extreme. So again, it was just a slight reiteration, a couple improved hardware, a couple things that improved in hardware when it came to that handheld device. Now, is it going to be comparable? If that Xbox edition, the base edition, is it going to be comparable to the Ally X, or is it more comparable to the original Ally? And from what that processor is, it has the Ryzen Z2A. Now this is completely different. Even though it's Z2, the A is going to indicate that this processor and this practically APU is going to be completely different compared to the original Z1 and also the Z1 Extreme. And the thing about that is it's going to end up more than likely going to perform exactly how the base model did, like the original ROG Ally. Now, not the base model, not just the regular Z1, but the Z1 Extreme. So it's improved in that aspect. But for the Z2 Extreme, it's hard to quite say until we really run some tests on it, which will be quite exciting, which will be upcoming sometime soon. So what's up, Squeeze? Good to see you. We want to see you playing games while live streaming and answering questions. Sure, we could do something like that. I could definitely make plans for this. Hey, I got the 5070 12 gigabytes with Ryzen 7 5700X. 32 gigabytes Trident ZY Samsung 4 terabyte 990. And also the motherboard is a AORUS B550 Elite AX2. That's a awesome build. How do you like it so far? And if you want to show off your builds, you could also feel free to post it in Discord, and I'll be more than happy to share it with everybody in the stream as well. If you're wondering what the Discord channel is, it's down in the description box down below, or you can go to www.chrismizo.com, click the Discord icon. When you click the Discord icon, then it will lead you into the FanBam server. Once you do that, just make sure to click the green check mark once you enter and hit the rules, and then after you go through that side of it, you can enter the server where you can easily post up your pictures, and from there we can definitely show off your build. But amazing build, I like the sounds of it. Now you have the Ryzen 7 5700 with a 5070. Now, because of that motherboard, I'll just give you a heads up. It will get a little bit less power out the 5070 because it doesn't have full utilization of PCI Express 5 yet. Now, it's not going to be a major power loss there, but it will lose about 5% from the bus when you do use that graphics card, that 5070 and a PCI Express 4 slot. It's not going to be a major difference. You're probably not going to experience a large difference, especially if you're pulling the frames that you are expecting, especially if you're playing on a, say, 1080 monitor or a 1440 monitor even. More than likely, you won't experience that much of a difference. But just to let you know, if you do end up upgrading your motherboard and you do upgrading your processor, then you can experience the full power of the 50 series. So, if you bought Intel, what would be the first changes that you would make? You guys don't want to see mine as Chris. I gotta say, Amir has an excellent build. I know there's not a lot of love when it comes to Intel, especially now, but I'll tell you what, they're trying to make their best to make a comeback. I also have news about Intel, and it's quite interesting. They're trying to really impact the market, especially Lip Bhutan, who took over as Intel CEO. He's going to try to implement a couple changes. Now, it's quite funny, which I'm going to explain. So, if you bought Intel, what would be the first changes that I would make? Now, the first changes that I would make is obviously go into the BIOS and try to attempt to do some more overclocking settings. And of course, you have to have XMP on. You have to have XMP when it comes to Intel. Those would be the first changes that I would make. Now, if it's hardware wise, it depends. Like, what is the hardware in the PC? Let me know. Now, what is your profession besides this YouTube channel? So, I also, as I mentioned out there, as I know Wasabi, it's like almost like kind of like an inside joke, but it's I practically work for the government, if that's what you're curious about. So, what's up, Wasabi? There he is. There he goes. So, it could be possible that the Sapphire could come out with the BTF board on the X870E because they have the GPU and the RX 9070 XT Nitro with the hidden connector. And that's the funny part. I think it's going to somehow end up matching up in that sense. So, I'm really curious to see what Sapphire and Nitro comes out with, because if they have their Nitro Plus, they could really implement something that's a little bit different than a lot of manufacturers. Maybe have like a longer port for you to plug in for their GPU, specifically to their GPU. Like have some sort of option. But I know they have to also have a little bit more of universal use, just in case if they don't use the Sapphire Nitro Plus. And maybe it'll be like almost like an extension, like maybe an extension plug. That would make sense, right? If they had like either a cover, if you're not using that port, or like some sort of extension plug to where if you plug in the motherboard, but I know it's like about pinpoint accuracy too, so that's a bit scary. But if as long as everything lined up perfectly and it just like snapped into the place, almost like having like another bus, and you were able to plug it in that way with the extension, then that would make it even nicer. It would be even a more solid connection than having just a 12 volt high power port into the GPU, don't you think? And guys, I am buying the 5070 Ti as we speak. Total cost is 916 euros from Amazon in Germany. I'm glad that Wasabi brought this up. So main reason is if anybody's thinking of getting a brand new GPU, I do have to inform you guys that there is great news on that side. At least it's not raising finally, it's doing the exact opposite. So far it seems that a lot of the GPUs that are out there, mainly about like 95% of them, have dropped down to an amazing like 10% lower compared to the MSRP introduced price. So if you're thinking of getting, say, like the RTX 5090, you can finally get it under 2,000 USD, which is a nice offer. Same thing with the 5070s, 5070 Ti's. Even the RX 9070 XT has dropped quite a bit in price, so it's a bit more affordable. Sometimes when indications like this happens, it makes you really wonder what is going to be introduced at CES 2026. I am definitely excited to announce that I will definitely be going there now. I definitely have plans, so if anyone out there has questions about CES 2026, make sure to ask. I'll create a list of all the ones that everybody wants to see. We'll definitely go live once we're there, and we can take a look and see what is offered by all the manufacturers, such as ASUS, Gigabyte, MSI. Hopefully Sapphire's there. I really hope that they're there. If they are, we'll definitely check them out. We could go to the Sony booth if anyone's interested in seeing more Sony products. So, do you think the... what's up, camper? So, I'm from Argentina. Let me go back to Takuma real quick, because I didn't want to skip him. Maybe the X870 Nitro, the X8... Yes. I think that would be the case. I wonder how they're lined. What would they name it, though? Yeah, maybe Nitro Plus, like what you're saying. Maybe that would be like the hidden connection type of thing. So, I'm from Argentina. Do you recommend updating to the AM5 with Rush? I'm the 5070 that you think. Oh, so if you're from Argentina, I know the pricing is a bit high, especially in South America. And I could say if you're able to get an AM5, if you're able to afford the AM5, you can certainly go ahead and proceed to go down that line. Now, you don't have to get say a B850. It'd be nice if you can. You can go B650 and just make sure to upgrade the BIOS. That's the biggest thing if you do decide to do it. Because that line is still going to be very alive, because in fact that AMD is going to continue this line at least until 2027, because Ryzen 10,000 series, when they do end up releasing it, will also still be compatible with AM5. So last year, I wanted to upgrade during the Black Friday period, thinking that prices were going to drop instead of skyrocketing. Prior to the release of the 50 series, not doing that same mistake again. I completely understand. I feel bad for everyone out there who had ended up selling their RTX 40 series. So you had people out there selling their 4070s, 4080s, 4090s, like around November, December. Typically, that's the smart move to do, because when you do that, you're going to maximize the most out of the used market for something like that. So if you sold your 4090, because originally MSRP for a RTX 4090, you could buy it for around $1,500-$1,600. And when you sold it, now this is like in November and December, when you sold it around that time, you probably made maybe $1,000, maybe if you're lucky, you got $1,100. But then when they sold it, and they realized, and most people, this happened to most people out there who was trying to get their hands on like the 5090, just say, or any 50 series in line, in fact. And when they went to go purchase it, they realized how hard it was, and they were out of luck. They were SOL of a GPU, but they had cache waiting. And on top, to make things worse, when they did end up releasing the GPU, the 50 series, then it just ended up costing a lot more than expected. Sure, NVIDIA said it was going to be 2,000 MSRP, but the difference is once the manufacturers also add their price on their custom fan specifications when it comes to their GPUs, then it ends up costing a bit more because they don't make that much profit off of NVIDIA. For example, NVIDIA will sell the GPU to these manufacturers, just say ASUS. Oh, thank you for the subscribing. I really do appreciate it. Now I do have to say that let me track this. For some reason, it really likes my PC, guys. So speaking of which, say ASUS, Gigabyte, any of these manufacturers, they buy from NVIDIA, they buy the PCB from NVIDIA, the graphics card, where they could be able to put the fan shroud on it. Now, they're buying it nearly at the same price as we're buying it, actually. They're buying it for maybe $1,700 or $1,800 on a 5900. I mean, not 5900, that's way back then. On a 5090. And then they have to sell it for more because you can't sell it for $200 more because you're barely making any profit. Especially that they put so much investments in figuring out what's the best method to cool down this card, and plus you got to pay your employees, so it's going to cost quite a bit. So of course they're going to be like around $2,500, and then those people who did end up selling their 4090s back then ended up having to dish out more money. And to add to the hurt, if they didn't sell it like during the hot time between, like, say January to, I'd say, May, between that whole era, then they actually didn't maximize their profit. They ended up losing money because the GPUs actually went up significantly. In fact, you could sell your GPU, your RTX 4090 to Newegg for $1,600 to Newegg. So that just gives you an indication of how expensive the GPU market was and how inflated it was. But now it's finally deflated to a fair point. I know that was kind of lengthy, but I appreciate you guys listening into that. But let me go back up to, let's see. Oh, I appreciate it. Thanks, G40. I'm glad to see you here. I'm just going back up into the comments because I know I kind of went way ahead. So let me go right here. Let's see. Right here. Intel and NVIDIA should be collab with NCPUs, iGPUs that are equivalent to the 5090. And yeah, let's get on to the Intel subject, in fact. CPUs will be Threadripper size. Can you imagine if Intel and NVIDIA actually came out like with a decent server chip? Which that's really their goal anyway, is really come out like with an improved, better than the Xeon, which is quite ass compared to the Threadripper, to be honest. And it's much more expensive and much more harder to install. So many ands with that. It certainly is going to be expensive. I saw some good prices this year, period, of the normal 50 series. It's about to end since the super version. Yes, super version. And I'll tell you my thoughts on that. Managed to get an insane, awesome, Zay. You did. You got to share the specs with us. You're very kind. Thank you. I can change the AM5 in 6 months. It's no problem at all. That's what we do. And again, if anybody out there has any questions when it comes to PC hardware, feel free to ask. I will certainly answer it. And if you want to join in the Discord, feel free. It's down in the description box down below. And we can certainly share your photos of your PC. And also we can definitely take a look at if you have any sort of hardware issues that you run into, and we'll figure it out and make sure your PC gets started up. And how many 90 tier cards do you have? Have you seen NVIDIA RAM back in DDR2? Yes, I remember those days. That was insane. And the RTX Titan RTX 3090, currently on the RTX 4090, and 2 RTX 5090. I don't have PC Building Simulator 2. That would be fun to do, though. I should definitely do it. If you do, can we make a contest? Yeah, sure. That's an excellent idea. In fact, I'll copy that, Squeeze. I like that idea. So I'll copy that into the notepad. So that way, that's an excellent idea. And also another idea that I want to give everybody out there, if anyone wants to do some sort of live questioning, like if you don't mind to put yourself on Discord, either audio or video, it doesn't matter. You can also enter Discord. I mean, not Discord. You could also go live this way as well, and I can answer your questions live. So, what do you think of the 7500F for a budget build? Now, there's nothing wrong with starting off with the 7500F. Once you get the 7500F, it's not going to be the end of PC building. That's not going to be the processor that you're going to end up having for the rest of the span of PCs. And that's why building PCs is a beautiful thing. Because when you build PCs and you start with the 7500F, and you can always end up changing to the Ryzen 10,000 series. You can get 10,000. I'm assuming this is what they're going to call it, but it's going to be like maybe the 10,800. It'll be the 10,800 3D. It's a lot to say, but just say you do decide to get that, like the 10,800 3D, and you could easily swap it out. The biggest thing you would have to do is just a BIOS update, and that's it. So you don't have to think it's really endgame. It's a great way to start off. You don't really need a lot of cores, especially if you're building a PC strictly for gaming. You don't really need multi-core processes unless you're playing something like Borderlands 4 and you're really taking a beating on Unreal Engine 5 because it takes just way too many resources, and anybody out there will tell you that. In fact, I feel sorry for anybody out there that does want to get, who has a Nintendo Switch 2. Does anyone out there have a Nintendo Switch 2? Let me know. I'm just curious. But anyway, the devs for Borderlands 4 said that we're not going to develop. Well, they're developing, but they're just having a lot of issues with Borderlands 4 porting into Nintendo Switch 2. So unfortunately, that it will not be developed quite timely. If it comes out on Nintendo Switch 2, I can imagine it's going to look like a Borderlands 1 game, if anything. At least I hope like Borderlands 1, because then you don't want to look like GameCube graphics on a Nintendo Switch 2 playing Borderlands 4. So at least 8500F so you can use Windows 11. I mean, I think the 7500F you should be able to get it. As long as if the board, just make sure, anybody out there who is thinking of building a PC, most of these boards shouldn't have this issue. It just has to be TPM 2.0. I know AM5 for sure, the whole line should be all TPM 2.0. If you're going earlier AM4 build, then you're going to definitely take a risk if you're going to build a PC, because you have to make sure it's TPM 2.0. Now, 8700K and the B470 motherboard with the RX 580, or a budget GPU 16 or 32 gigabytes of DDR4, depending on. Okay, so anybody who is thinking Windows 11 needs a minimum of, yes. Now that's the issue. So when it comes to a motherboard, again, bringing this up, it has to be, in order for it to be TPM 2.0. Originally, it derived back in, I think it was 2015 or 2016, like when it really started to show up. But not a lot of motherboards had it. It was very few in between. I'd say like about like 2 or 3 manufacturers really had it, but it wasn't on all their boards. It was like on the high-end boards would have it for sure. But once it became more common, I'd say like 2017, 2018, then you would see it. And even then it was a bit sketchy. It really started to push, I'd say like in 2020, 2021 is when they had it for sure. So what headphones and mic would you recommend for audio mixing? Or just basically a good one budget? It's about $500. I had my eyes on something, but meh. Actually, a great one I would highly recommend. Now, this is an underrated thing that most people don't really do with headphones. Get Beyerdynamic headphones. You might be looking at the same thing. Beyerdynamic is excellent when it comes to audio and great for anyone that is into audio producing. It's super accurate when it comes to sound. And for the microphone, you can actually add one on if you'd like. Get a decent microphone. There's a ton out there. You can get like a Sennheiser microphone is excellent, and kind of mix it with your headset, and that way you have a decent headset. But that would be my recommendation. Get Beyerdynamics and get like, say like a Sennheiser mic, and you would be good for years and years. I'll tell you that for sure. 2008. 25H2 runs like a charm. Okay, so let's get back onto the Intel subject real quick, because I know there were some questions about it, especially you have Intel and NVIDIA working together. So, because NVIDIA and Intel are working together, there's a lot of questions and in the industry, especially if they're going to come out with the processor and practically NVIDIA works its way into its SoC, such as desktop processors, or if it's possible onto laptops and handhelds. Now, on the handhelds and laptops, that's definitely going to be a possibility. You're going to have Intel and NVIDIA work together to come out with a very decent chipset. So a very decent SoC from both NVIDIA and Intel. That certainly is on the, excuse me, that's definitely on the plans. And then when it comes to the desktop side, they're not really going to enter that. Even on the high-end desktop, even the high-end desktop side, they're not really going to mess too much with that. They're more going to focus on the server bases, to where they're more for the enterprises, and that's what they really want to expand in. Now, what's really interesting that Intel is going to do is that they've been making a lot of plans. Intel is actually in talks right now with Apple, believe it or not. They're in talks with Apple now. They're possibly getting back with them. And if they are, what they're going to do is they're going to come out with practically another SoC with NVIDIA, to come out with something with Apple. That's why they're in talks with it. So a lot of people are like, why is Apple talking back to Intel? That's the main reason. You got the powerhouse, NVIDIA, working with Intel, coming out with an SoC. So just imagine the power of that. Now they're going to be competing with the M1 and the M2 and practically the ARM chipset. But the problem is when it comes to their SoCs, when it comes to the M series line, there's been rumors already. I don't know if you guys heard or not, but the rumor currently is that with the ARM SoCs currently, that they've already kind of like hit a limit with it. So if that's true, if the rumors are true, that they can't really expand more onto it, then that would make perfect sense why Intel and NVIDIA is trying to sell them the idea of coming out with their own SoC and putting it into their MacBook line once again. So, what's the specs squeeze? I only just stopped using my first monitor. It's not 16 years old. About the streaming, are you streaming both normal and vertical on YouTube? Yes, both on OBS, Wasabi. I have a vertical screen up, actually. What I personally like to do is when it comes to the YouTube and OBS, I actually have a setup guide. Like, I think it was like about 2 videos ago, because our buddy Ricky, remember Ricky, anybody who went to Micro Center with us, he had trouble setting up OBS. So I just came out with like a really basic guide, a very straightforward guide, obviously not trying to get you to join any other extra things that you don't have to. You don't have to join any other stream elements or streamlayovers.com or any extra stuff. It's practically a straightforward guide on how to set up your OBS if you want to go streaming, and how to get your chat overlay set up, how to set up for both vertical and horizontal, and hopefully that can certainly help you out, Wasabi, once you start doing your stream, because I know you want to definitely do that PC build. If you do it live, I would love to check it out. In fact, we could even do the collab live, and we could definitely put it out there for sure. So them asking Apple to buy a part of Intel, what's the irony? Best time to buy Nvidia stock, lol. I gotta tell you, Intel has been skyrocketing. It's been like, now currently it's like you get $35 a share. And I've been telling everybody, like way back, like back before even SoftBank purchased it, because I knew that Intel was going to go up for sure, especially because of Lip Bhutan taking over and its influence practically in the US's culture. So I kind of figured that it's definitely going to go up, and I expected Intel to be actually a great investment, and Nvidia. So I removed it. So socket 765 900 megabytes of DDR2 upgraded to 4 gigabytes of DDR2. That was like, I remember when that used to be a big thing. No GPU, 300 gigabytes Western Digital green hard drive. How is that thing? It's funny because I feel like it's been a really long time since I actually got to hear hard drive spinning, but I remember that how loud they used to be. So, man, but yeah, Windows 10 won't work on it. However, I think you can try Windows 8.1 or well. Use Rufus, another PC, to install Linux distro. Yeah, Linux is definitely the best way to go, especially if you have an older system. I gotta say, Linux is one of those underrated OSs out there. But the only problem I gotta say is when it comes to Linux users, and thankfully it's a lot easier than what it used to be. You used to have to type everything in. There was like practically, there was always like some sort of GUI, but it was just like really basic. And in order for you to open up a browser or anything, you would have to literally type it into the terminal. And if you didn't, and then didn't learn how to, then you would have a really hard time going around Linux because you have to type everything in. But now Linux has evolved to the point where almost everything's like clickable. But of course, you're still going to have to run terminal to do certain aspects in the OS. I love the sound of the hard drive spinning up. That PC was loud in a good way. It's funny too, because I always think of back then of my Intel 4790K it was. Even then I had the SSD. In fact, like, but my backup drive, it was a hard drive, and it was like a 1 terabyte hard drive, and that was big. Western Digital Black, 1 terabyte hard drive, and I felt like that was a beast. I remember I felt like it was fast, but I can't imagine how it would feel now. And I still, you know what? But and the whole thing with Project Ninja, I'm still in the works. I'm really having trouble with the brands like sending stuff out, and I'm gonna do everything I can to make this whole Project Ninja happen. It might take a little bit longer than expected. But definitely expect more PC handhelds coming up soon in this channel. I have more diagnosis issues for anybody who has problems in the BIOS coming up for a video tomorrow. And definitely going to have more lined up after that. A lot of different videos. And I even will have a phone comparison that will be coming up by probably next Thursday. Between the S25 Ultra with the new iPhone versus the iPhone 15 Pro Max, to get a decent idea for anybody who does want to end up changing phones. So, yeah, there's a lot of different plans coming up, and I'm hoping Project Ninja will happen soon, and Project Wood, right? Who could forget about Project Wood? So, black and silver case. Need a GPU for this. You have an HP Envy Intel i7 Premium Tower desktop. Okay, 20 cores, 28 threads. So it sounds like it's something like a, maybe like a, what is it? Like a i7? So it must be an older one. Older i7. It has to be like, is it at least a 11900K? Or 11900s? It sounds like. 64 gigabytes, 2 terabytes SSD, Wi-Fi 6. So it's a bit older. If you need a GPU, I'd say like with a setup like that, go 30 series. NVIDIA 30 series or go AMD 6000 series. Radeon 6000 series. And more than likely you'll be good with something like that. If you're going to go with an older build. Now, you can get a 50 series or you can get like a newer RX 9070, but just to let you know, there is going to be some power loss. Like about 5%, because you're not going to utilize the full bus. Now, it depends on the size of the case. I saw AMD recently drop 1 or 2 new AM. You know what? We talked about that on Wednesday, which shows you AMD really truly has commitment when it comes to their motherboards here. And I gotta say, this is where, again, the AM4 line, they came out with the 5100s, the Ryzen 5100. It's practically only like 4 cores, 8 threads, real basic CPU. It's almost like just like the 5300, which is kind of insane. But this is a very niche market. It's going to be in a tight market. More than likely, I would see that more in, I would expect it more in the South American market for sure. 14th gen. So you probably have an i9 then. Not the i7. Because the i9 is would have the 14. Okay, so it's 14th gen. Then for something like that, let me take a look at your specs one more time. Okay, so more than likely, if you're up to date, Wi-Fi 6. I'm surprised you have, it's probably Wi-Fi 6E. I would say, if that's the case, what is your usage? Are you going to be using it for gaming? Are you going to be using it for video? I'm assuming, let me know what you're going to be using it for, and then I can give you a bit more accurate answer. Let me know the monitor that you have. Why not? It's nice that AMD has it. Not the wood. That's 12th, and you know what? I got to share something with you guys. Where is my phone? I'll share it with you guys, and you let me know what you think. You might think it's pretty hilarious. Hang on, guys. Let me adjust this. I'm going to adjust the brightness on this, so that way you guys can see me a bit better. There we go. For some reason, it keeps focusing on my PC for some reason. But let me share this with you guys, and I will get it out my drive. It's going to be pretty funny for the most part, because maybe you guys are looking forward to something like this. Let's see. Right here. I should have done this last night, in fact. Where is it at? Oh, man. Maybe it's in my photos, actually. Maybe it's updated. So, he needs a... Okay, so... Chris, I have the 10700 with 8 cores. There is no way that 11700K has... No, that's what I mean. I don't think it's a 11700K. I think it would have to be at least 11900K. I mean, 14900. So, Takuma, no problem. So, doing some office work. And wanted to do some gaming Intel Core. 14700K. Oh, okay. So the 14700K. That makes more sense. Okay, so you have the 14700K and you want to do some office work and gaming. Then I would say the perfect one, realistically, would be the RTX 5070 Ti or the RTX 5080. Or even better yet, the RX 9070 XT, a way underrated GPU, and works excellent, great on budget too, which is nice. What kind of camera did you use on your trip to Taiwan? So on the trip to Taiwan, I just I don't think I actually uploaded anything from Taiwan via camera, did I? If I didn't, photo wise, I use a A7S III, or video wise too. But when it comes to like the live stream part, it was just all directly off my phone. Unfortunately, I feel that the bitrate would be way too high on a camera to do wirelessly. Unfortunately, it would be great quality and everything, but I think it would just end up being really choppy and nasty. And I wanted to make sure that everybody got the experience Taiwan in real time. And let's see. So I might get 14700K and one of the workstation PCs. School breaks, they let me take it apart. Is it possible to change the stock? Oh, absolutely. Yeah, you can change out the stock fans. That's no question. You could definitely do it. You could replace it to whatever fans you would like. Just make sure. The most important thing is when you do change out fans on a AIO is just make sure that it has, you want to look for the static pressure. That's the most important thing. The higher the static pressure, the better it is. compared to CFM, the airflow. Yeah, pretty much. It definitely is. If it's all, that's why I said like the gaming is more the aspect part. When it comes to office work, it's like that's why I said like a 5070 Ti and a 5080 would be good. Everything on the case is the same except the 14900K. So let me, because I really want to share this with you guys. I'm going to check this out and see if it uploaded here. I don't think it did. Oh yes, it did. That's funny. All right, wait till I show this to you guys. For everyone who is looking for this, let me see. Right here, guys. And hopefully it downloads successfully here. And then I will share it with you guys. There we go. All right, so I'm going to unveil something here. Where is it? I don't know. I'm going to unveil something to you guys here, and you let me know what you think. You're probably here, but it sounds like, right? Let me see. Okay, so I got to show this to you guys here. I know you guys will probably love this. You ready? Now time to unveil this. Right there. Let's put it full screen so you guys can truly enjoy it, see the full experience. There, that's the start of it. You know, the hard work of a nice wooden keyboard. You got to sand down the keys and everything. And if you want the nice wooden sound, you get it. I'll make sure to post it on the shorts for you guys, just in case if you guys want to comment on it. You see how fine the precision is? You just got to be really careful. And you got to make sure it's nice and clear coated and everything. So that way you get a nice gloss. Yeah, I know. Putting 2 space bars. It's funny too because that's on the whole VO3 system, which is pretty insane, right? You gotta say, like when it comes to the whole AI aspect, it's pretty insane, like how nice and accurate they can get for the most part, at least. But yeah, having a split key, space bar is quite crazy. Oh yeah, it's AI. I know. It's funny, right? Can you imagine somebody actually doing that to the keys, like just like having the whole carpenter's outfit there and just like following it down to this perfection? So if anyone's into the business of wanting a nice walnut keyboard with, there's going to be a package deal. Yeah, the package deal is going to offer some nice, like, it's going to be in a nice, the whiskey's going to be pretty much aged inside of like a cherry wood barrel. And then you're going to have a nice, say like a Cuban cigar that goes with it. But I had to share that with you guys. I thought that was good, right? So speaking of, there was another subject besides Intel. What was it? It's just right on top of my mind too. Besides AMD, I think for the whole CS side, again, like if anyone has any questions at all, good idea to start compiling some. Hopefully, we'll definitely get to see Lisa Su. It seems that the timing is going to be like around 6:30 p.m. To give everyone a heads up. It's going to be at 6:30 p.m. on the 5th. It's going to be on a Monday in 2026. So when we go there, feel free to have any questions, and hopefully we can certainly answer them. So 6:30 p.m. their time. Now it's going to be West Coast time, so it's going to be 3 hours earlier compared to the East Coast time. So that's going to be only 2 hours ahead. 2 hours ahead. Should be about 2 hours ahead for everybody, not 2 hours, maybe 3 hours ahead for anybody that is out on the European side. So 3 hours ahead for you guys. How many gallons of water did you waste for that? So I set on getting the Corsair 5400s. I don't like the Corsair fans. So I would like to use Lee & Lee or Thermaltake fans. I have to buy a gun for those fans so I can use the Corsair ones. More than likely, you probably don't. Loki, Lisa Sue is a baddie. Lots. So for the 5400 Air, you don't like the actual Corsair fans that come with it. Now you can use the Lee & Lee or Thermaltake fans. No, you don't have to buy a gun or nothing like that. I think you're talking about like anything specific. No, my man, Chance. If I could, that would be great. I will certainly, if I get the chance, I will certainly let you guys know. That would be pretty dope, right? If we get to talk to Lisa Sue in person and get to ask some questions. Because I know the number one question everybody out there would have is, where's RD? Is it going to be RDNA 5? Is there going to be a high-end AMD GPU out there? So, to answer that question, Mike, like I said, you don't need anything real extra. All you have to do is really have the fans, because most of the time it's going to be connected to, say, the motherboard that you do have. And from there, you should be pretty much good. It's not, you don't have to hook it up to Corsair's hub. You could hook up the fans to it, but you don't hook up the RGBs or nothing like that to it. So, what's the dog doing? He's just walking around. He's just like standing by the door. It's pretty funny. Let me see. Where's the camera? I'll show you what he's got. What he's doing. I'll turn on the Jonah cam, which I have. And you ready? Where is it? Can you guys... No, I guess it's not showing. I don't know why the camera is not showing. Oh, there it is. Put it right there. And I'll share it with you guys. And I know my back's turned. I apologize for that. But I'm just trying to set up this Jonah camera. Let me see. Right there. I'll show you what he's doing, guys. He's right there. I think he just wants to get out. I think he's had enough PC talk. And by the way, this is like the Threadripper build. It sits on right here on the floor, actually, believe it or not. But yeah, he's just trying to get out there. I think I gotta let him out. He probably wants to drink some water or something. There you go, buddy. So, oh yeah, he's okay. He was just chilling. He actually has like a stitched carpet that he actually lays on over there. Yeah, the dog camera, right? Yeah, he's doing great though. So no worries. Jonah's all good. He'll probably end up coming back in, to be honest. And let me see. He didn't come back in yet though. But so far he's been pretty happy with everything that's been going on in the studio wise. He hasn't sniffed out any bad PCs quite yet. As soon as he does, he'll definitely show it. He'll let you know his expression. So another thing. So let me see. Another thing that's really interesting Intel did. This is what was on top of my mind here. Was this. This is on videocards.com. And Arrow Lake, or Intel, wants to let everybody know that Arrow Lake is still a great processor out there. They're trying to really sell it. And I'll show you, and we'll talk a little bit more about it. It's going to... Yes, I have two PCs set up. This one's specifically for my video editing and my streaming and everything. And the other one that I have back here is for the gaming side. Bro, and my PC, sometimes keyboard buttons don't work. I checked it twice, but it's not the keyboard. What type of keyboard do you have, by the way? You said it's not the keyboard? EA is going private with $50 billion buyout from investors. That makes sense, though, because EA really does need it. It's good, though, that they're going to have these private investors do it, because at least they have confidence that EA games can survive this. I don't really have as much confidence for other companies, such as, like, I know Ubisoft is questionable. So, bro, in my PC, sometimes keyboard buttons not work. Make sure to have it set up in the correct language, because usually what happens is sometimes if the keyboard is not set in the correct language, make sure it's in the correct country, because otherwise it will not work properly. So you want to go to your keyboard settings, make sure you swap it to the keyboard that you have, the type of keyboard that you have, because that can happen. And they do have different ones where it has, say, like 110 keys, or you'll see it like once you get into that keyboard settings side, and make sure to switch it over that way. So you have a dull keyboard? Yes. So even if it's a dull keyboard, just make sure you go into the keyboard settings. There are, I want to use them to sell as service. No, might as well buy yourself. Oh, never mind. There is 6. All right, so we're going to go over here to the browser side. And oh, there it goes. Right there. And let me see. And let me fix it for you guys over here on the window capture. There we go. Perfect. So this is it right here. And I guess they want to prove a point that they still exist. That don't count them out the picture. This is it right here. So they're saying, if you look at it for price to performance, you get 20 threads out of a 265F or 265. Even their most highlighted ones here, 5.3 for their maximum turbo frequency. Of course, the non-F has a GPU with it, and at 65 watts compared to the 9700X. Now, the funny thing is, like, if you look up here to the 285K side, right? And then you look at the 285, they compare it to even the 9950X3D. So it's like, I know some of you out there are like, no, that's not even close. Their point of this slide is that they're still price to performance. And if you look over here, they're showing that they're just as strong, the 9950X3D, that they're on par when it comes to Space Marines, Last of Us, Spider-Man 2, when it comes to Alan Wake 2, Starfield, when it comes to, and also when it comes to content creation even, when it comes to Cinebench, when it comes to Keyshot, Adobe After Effects, that they actually are on par or exceed. Now, I'm not surprised on that side. I've mentioned this before, to where it said that, where I mentioned before where they have an advantage when it comes to content creation, because a lot of programs do factor Intel before AMD. And I feel that's been a deal for a long time, and it's a bit dated, to be honest. And hopefully they do end up changing it and updating that deal. But anyway, 285K performance for creators out here. So they're saying if you're more of a creator, you want to go Intel here. So the Ryzen 5 3600 versus, I was so close to buying the i7 265K. It's funny, I was too. I almost bought it myself, like when I was with Ricky because of Battlefield 6. I was thinking, let me just get the 265K, and I was like, nah, I'll just wait for the refresh. But where is it? Where's this refresh? So Intel is trying so hard to sell their products. Feel kind of bad for them. But if they made the right choices back, then I would have stayed. Absolutely. Like I said, I felt very confident when they came out with their 12900K. I thought that was it. I thought they were going to come back. They were the first ones to introduce PCI Express 5 to the consumer markets. But then they somehow dropped the ball. They just really dropped the ball. So I might get the 5060 Ti 16 gigabytes. Not a bad choice. No one on the team hardware has done 50-60 submission overclock. Yeah, you probably won't see it as much when it comes to something like a 5060 Ti. But certainly do it. I would love to know. So you have a Ryzen 5 3600 versus a Core i5-10400F. Which is the best for gaming? Now, the important thing is I will have to add it. Yeah. Like, this Takuma is hilarious. Like 10 years ago. Yeah, that's... Now, I'm going to tell you, when it comes to the 3600s or the 10400F, to be honest, the 3600 would certainly be the better choice. Still. Now, I wouldn't recommend it. I hope you don't have to spend money on building it like this with a 3600 or a 10400F, because TPM2, and hopefully you guys are up to date with this, but Steam is also surveying people to see if they have TPM 2.0. I know Discord was aware of this. If anybody here is just joining in, I'm Chris Mizo. I talk about PC and tech. Feel free to join the Discord. It's down in the description box down below, and you can feel free to ask any questions, or feel free to submit your photos of your PC, and we could definitely show it off on the stream. But anyway, it's a bad idea currently to start off with AM4 or start with any socket that's lower than the 12,000 series when it comes to Intel's CPU line. And the reason being is because TPM 2.0 is going to be the future, and you don't want to build a PC that gets outdated in 6 months, to be real with anyone out there. So just to give you a heads up, you're going to have limited compatibility. You're only going to end up being able to play games that are going to be anything prior to 2025. Now, if only the i7-2700K didn't have a hole in it, I would overclock. Yeah, no problem. I wouldn't recommend gaming with the Ryzen 5s. Yeah. If that's, again, if you're desperate. And like I said, I don't recommend building if you are planning to build with anything like that, because it's just going to end up disappointing you. Now, here's where it gets interesting. The Intel Core i9 versus the 900X, right? And this is their chart right here. And they're saying that they have -7. So they admittedly say they have -7% performance when it comes to Counter-Strike 2. So from there, that kind of gives you an indication that the 285K is not going to be for those who are competitive gamers. So if you're a competitive gamer, this is a bad choice. But if you enjoy games such as The Last of Us and Stalker 2, that gives you an indication that you might get better performance. But then you're not really comparing a gaming processor. You're comparing a 285K up against a 9900X. Remember that. It's not the X3D. But this is... And the funny thing is, they don't even bother to show the chart between the X3D versus the 285K. They just go directly to the 9900X because they know they're going to get their ass beat, to be honest, when it comes to that side. So I used a i5-10500. It was good, but not enough for Beam. For ultra graphics, 32 AI with the max pooled cores that my i7-10700 does. The X series CPUs are good, but old. Exactly, and that's the issue. You can't. They're great CPUs, but you can't really compare it. It wouldn't make sense to. So they're saying that you get a much better value out the 265K. And again, they're showing this charts when it comes to creation. And here, a balanced enthusiast experience is what they tried to sell on here, right? They can do 8 RAM slots and quad GPU. They certainly can. Now, the thing is, when it comes to that, it's anything that does that is more of a high-end desktop. And that's, again, more for anyone that wants to use it for, again, like server-based AI servers or LLMs. That would be more the choice. That chart shows only you can buy Intel 9 285. Exactly. The games doesn't care anymore. But Intel is getting beat then price-wise when it comes to the end of the motherboard. See, this is where it gets funny too, is because they say it's the balanced enthusiast experience, right, when it comes to gaming. So the 9800 X3D is up here. So it's saying it's on par when it comes to Starfield. Nobody cares. Nobody gives a rat ass about Starfield, right? Who plays Starfield, to be honest with you? Because it just hasn't been that great. But when it comes to Alan Wake 2, Last of Us, it's all performance loss. It's a negative 15% when it comes to Stalker 2. But when it comes to content creation, that's where the balance comes in. Not everyone wants to do content creation. Not everyone wants to work on graphics. But you can see how much that they say it exceeds over AMD when it comes to encoding. When it comes over to Adobe After Effects. Again, those programs are optimized for Intel. They're not optimized for AMD. That's why there's such a large jump over it. Oh, thanks for the donation, Wasabi. I appreciate it. Got paid yesterday. Yeah, no problem, Wasabi. I'm glad to be able to help you out. What do you think about the smooth motion on 12 gigabytes? Now, smooth motion's a great feature to take advantage of, but anybody out there who has a 50 series card will tell you that they don't really use the frame generation. Reason being, the frame generation feels like it ends up not really producing. It doesn't really feel like you're really gaming in a sense. It doesn't feel really comfortable because it's kind of like has like this weird type of display lag to it. And when that display lag happens, it does take away from the gaming experience. But the smooth motion isn't too bad. That's something that they've needed to do. In fact, that's actually an idea that was taken out of AMD's book, which was their AFMF, which is their motion flow, believe it or not. But that side of it is good. But when it comes to the frame generation side, it's not going to be as great. Some games can take advantage of it if you really have to. But again, there are certain settings that have to be turned on. You have to have frame generation and video reflex. And you also have to make sure that that your VSync has to, I believe, have to be on as well. I have to double check it. But for smooth motion, it honestly isn't all too bad. Now, which is the GPU on your YouTube thumbnail? On my YouTube thumbnail, I think it was I think it's the RX 9070 XT, if I'm not mistaken. If you're talking about the homepage, I believe that it is. That GPU is rare. The HD 7850 QGB Sapphire in a bin. Wow. I give it to you. Amazing work for you. It makes no sense to buy Intel 9285K when the motherboard... that's the thing. That's where they're trying to sell you on. Gigabyte AORUS RTX 5090 Master. You know, I feel really bad for this, like, kind of like sitting there in the... It became more of a display piece. Hopefully you guys see it. I think you guys can see it. You can see that Gigabyte motherboard. That's still in the box. And that's a Z890 board. But I do want to do something. I just am waiting on Intel to come out with these refresh processors. I don't know what they're doing right now. So, what will replace the RTX? Because I know something will be something. I believe that it's going to... Originally, I felt a little bit mixed. I thought RTX was going to go change their name into the PTX line. It would only make sense. That's the next evolution after ray tracing. Maybe they would go, instead of the RTX 6090, they could call it the PTX. Start over. PTX 6. Well, they would have to go 60 because then it would get confusing. It would be like the PTX 6090 or the PTX 6080. And then you would know you're entering like a brand new generation. Maybe that is planned. Or maybe it's going to be the RTX AI something. Or it's going to be... Same with... I know for a fact, when AMD does come out with their cards, because they've been doing it already with their processors, is calling it, like, say, the Ryzen... Here goes one. The Ryzen AI 395. I'm pretty sure when it comes down, when it comes to Radeon, when they come out with their new graphics cards, expect RX AI, or maybe it'll be like RX say 1070 or a 170 AI XT or XT AI, something like that. It's going to be along the lines with AI somewhere fitted with that GPU. So, by the way, yesterday I downloaded the B650E AORUS motherboard. Latest BIOS update, all I found on the internet were negative comments about updating in BIOS. You know what? It's a great thing that you did mention that. The reason being is there's a lot of negatives because currently they're trying to use this new BIOS. I remember Takuma was actually the first one that brought it up to my attention that they actually changed up the interface. And I really am looking forward to doing a Gigabyte build because I would love to check out what the BIOS looks like. But I think that has to do something along the lines with it. I think it's something to do with they still have like little glitches in there that they still have to fix, and hopefully it does end up getting repaired because more than likely Gigabyte is trying to make it a lot more simpler in a sense, and also improve your experience, because allegedly these new BIOSes that Gigabyte does come out with is supposed to enhance your hardware capabilities when it comes to your processor and GPU. So you're supposed to get even better performance to this new BIOS. But again, that's something we'll see. And it was also promised on the X3D as well when it comes to their Gigabyte, not the processors from AMD, but Gigabyte's X3D. I was going to install the ASUS graphics card next weekend, waiting for the VGA. Yeah, you know what? I meant to comment on that, Takuma. I find it pretty insane that it doesn't come with it. Like, it's quite an expensive card, and they don't come with a standoff. The big positive when it comes to Gigabyte AORUS's card, they actually have a very decent standoff. I don't know if you guys could see it, but it works quite well. I like it a lot better compared to the original standoff they had for the RTX 4090, because that was kind of a cluster right there. Some motherboards it would be a little bit tough to fit in. You have to like kind of maybe grind it down a little bit for it to fit, but at least it would. But the new design, like when it comes to the 50 series and Gigabyte's mounts, they work excellent for the most part. I can see it work on a lot of builds because they come with two different stand sizes for your PC in order for it to fit. But yeah, that's kind of disappointing, I gotta say, from ASUS. Usually they give you a lot of goodies when it comes to their stuff. So I have 64 gigabytes of DDR4 in my PC, i7 10700, and a GTX 1060. It's a solid GPU, but it's better wait for the... So, I missed that. So the 5070 Ti, it's a great GPU, just like he said. Sorry I missed that, Night Fox. But I can say that, speaking of which, is another topic I wanted to really get into, is I know there's more than likely a lot of questions about NVIDIA Super Series, when's it coming out. I honestly really feel like NVIDIA is not going to come out with the Super Series, and I feel pretty certain that I won't see it at CES. We won't get to see it. We will certainly go live once again once we check out these, once we go to ASUS, once we go to AORUS, once we go to all these places, and hopefully if there is a Super Series, I'm more than happy to share with you guys. But I think NVIDIA is really focused. They are like locked in, laser focused on the whole AI side of it. They're really trying to go through like an AI revolution. They kind of want to be like the steel revolution when that happened, is almost like what NVIDIA wants to do. They want to make a change in history. So they're working around the clock in order to do that. That's why their mind is like, who cares about GPUs right now? That's not going to change the world, but AI is. So I think you're going to see a much bigger showing from their server side when it comes to NVIDIA, which I know not everybody's going to really care about, is from NVIDIA on the CES side. But when it comes to their GTC summit, which is usually in March 2026, then they're going to more than likely unveil the RTX Super Series line. So don't think that they're going to abandon it, but they'll show it then, I believe. During their GTC summit, They'll introduce, I believe, the three, which are going to be RTX 5070 Super, RTX 5070 Ti Super, and the RTX 5080 Super. There's not going to be a 5090 Ti or a 5090 Super. I hate to disappoint everybody out there. It just really wouldn't make any sense at all. The 5090 will still be the best card to get out the whole 50 series line. Simply, Takuma, is there any super way to be more costly? It has to be the VGA standoff, but not big enough. You can use it with the screwdriver, which is neat, but the big bummer is that it's 12 volt 2x6 power cable to the 4x8 pin adapters in the back. I don't need either. I see. That it makes a bit more sense. So there's a high chance the Super Series will be scalped. I agree. It's going to be very tough to get at first. I am looking to build a creator streaming PC, and I also am using Fusion 360. A lot of modeling. What AMD would you recommend with the 5070? Would you recommend, and would a 5070 Ti be overkill? No. 5070 Ti would not be overkill. In fact, you could take advantage of the VRAM space from the 5070 Ti. So I feel that's actually the perfect one. That's actually a perfect one that you picked out for your PC build. Now, when it comes to the AMD processor, when it comes to 3D modeling, I would highly recommend when it comes is something like a 90. If you're going, are you going to be gaming on it? If not, if you're not gaming, then I would suggest getting a 9950X. If you are gaming, if you are going to be using it for some gaming, then get the X3D. That would make more sense. But either the 9950X or the 9950X3D. Now, maybe on release day, the super cards can be a little bit more expensive, but in the end, yes. Because what will happen is they will cycle out. They will slowly phase out the GPUs that are not being used anymore. Hence, this is part of the reason why you can see the decrease in the pricing when it comes to the 50 series. You can see it for 10% cheaper than what they offer at MSRP. So when you see these cards for, say, like 10% off, that's the main reason, is because you can certainly expect a refresh of those cards practically being released sometime soon. Now, priced around $1,000 simply. Okay. For the RTX 5070. So is the RX 9070 XT slightly better than the RX? I would say they're about even when they come into power. The 5070 Ti can be better when it comes to something like ray tracing and path tracing. When it comes to the RTX 9070 XT, in terms to price and performance, you can certainly expect pretty much on par when it comes to the RTX 5070 Ti. It just depends on the technologies that you decide to utilize when it comes to that GPU, because that will be the determining factor of it really being even with the 5070 Ti or not. No problem. No problem. Again, feel free. If anybody's just coming in, I'm Chris Mizo. I talk about PC and tech. Thank you guys all for coming in. Feel free to ask questions. There are no wrong questions when it comes to PC building. We've all been there. We all know how confusing it can be. You see so many different numbers. You could see different sockets. You see different chipset numbers. And now you just don't know where to start. There's so many different hardware you don't know where to start. Feel free to ask your question, and we can certainly answer what your PC could look like, what you want to use it for. If you want to use it for gaming, you want to use it for video editing, you want to use it for, say, photo editing, anything with any type of usage, you can feel free to ask. You're into LLMs, you want to get into it, you can also feel free to ask. Now, I also see that there's a decrease on the seller's model diversity. Like, one seller had 28 RTX 5080 models on sale. Now it's down to 10 models. Oh, wow. So I'm curious, too. That's pretty insane. I just wonder, like, how used it was. I will max out at 37 gigabytes of VRAM if it can. So can you suggest some AIOs with customizable displays under $120? Certainly. MSI actually has their CPU, which is really decent. It's a CPU cooler. I think it should be under 120. I do not endorse anything like from Enermax. Unfortunately, I feel Enermax is not that great. I know NZXT is going to be highly priced. Corsair's 240 millimeter LCD might be closer to your range. I think it still might be a little bit above, slightly. Might be a little bit above budget. Another one I can recommend, Thermaltake, I believe, has a decent one too. They also have a CPU cooler that's a decent customizable display. And so mostly probably MSI, I would say. Corsair, the 240. Look for the 240 millimeter instead of 360 if you are really on a tighter budget. But if you can expand, it's better to get 360 because, to be honest, these processors do run a bit hotter now. The MSI one would probably be the best choice, I think, because at least you get a 360 millimeter radiator, and plus you get a decent CPU cooler where it's customizable, which we could definitely take a look at. So 4x frames could be an advantage. 3060 can be 1440p. Now some games like 4K, like Roblox, RTX 3060 is a great card for those who use 1080p. Absolutely. So again, it really depends on resolution side. As if anybody games still on 1080p, just to let you know, you don't have to max out. You don't have to go crazy. You don't have to get something like a 5070 Ti or a 5080 even. You will be comfortable with any cards that's under it. In fact, you could still be comfortable with using like a used 4080 even, would be nice. So, but for its HD, it's value money GPU has some cool AIOs. Absolutely. They have it, but do you think they also have it for under 130? You might be right, Wasabi. They do have some great ones. Let's see if we can find one here. Right now, the PC thinks I'm a robot because I'm streaming at the same time. And I'm doing this. You know what? I'll just share the screen so you can feel the pain that everyone feels the pain when they have to go through this. And look at this. Look how crazy this looks. Wait till I show you this. Yeah. What is this? What is this? Then now it's even, now it's not even really that clear. I guess because they got AI doing it now. Is that a bike? I can't even tell now. Considering doing from an upgrade from an H610 a D5 to a B760M at D5 for my i7-12700F. What do you think? Yeah, it's certainly a decent upgrade. Now the thing is, for the most part, I know it's a pain. I really can't see nothing. Okay, so I can see this. It's a decent upgrade for the most part, I gotta say. You'll see some difference. There's going to be upgrade on certain drivers, like I believe the sound is an upgrade. Wi-Fi is also going. Oh, of course. Okay, now we're good. So right now we're just looking for some Gigabyte AORUS GPUs with displays. And it's still a bit higher than you would like. Valkyrie Sin 360, that's a good one. I think Deepcool actually has one too. Speaking of which, let's try that. Valkyrie 360. That's a decent one. Man, you are good. I gotta give it to you, Takuma. I like how you think. This one looks pretty decent, actually. This might be the one that can work out, 360. Now remember, like, if anybody does end up getting an AIO, just like this one, You don't have to stay with these fans if you don't like them, especially if they're noisy. They're going to be a bit more noisy more than likely. I can tell by the way they look. But this has the customizable screen on it. This might be it. That might be it. The other one I was suggesting was the MSI CPU core. Forget what they call it. The Core Liquids. This is it. This is close to your price. Here it is. Like, this one's only $90. But I think this one doesn't. This one doesn't have the display, thing on there. That's what it is. It's more like a mirror display. But they have this thing called Sama. But it looks sketchy because it's like 3.5 eggs. So that tells you right then and there that's no good. So, like, here goes one. Like, usually they're displayed coolers. They're customizable. Where's it at? I know this one is for sure. But this one's a little bit more up there. You would just get the 240 millimeter radiator version of this. This doesn't look customizable at all. This is, oh, maybe it is. It probably is. So, it doesn't get past 60 on the 130 watts. I have the Akasa Venom Voodoo, but I want to make the Akasa Venom module, but there are none just for sale anywhere. Yeah, it's going to be harder to find legacy hardware. Here we go. Thermaltake. They have one. I know height would be expensive for sure. Deep Cool. Let's take a look at Deep Cool. I think they're not too bad either. Let's go on their website, in fact. This is their cases. I forgot they got cases now. Deep Cool's a pretty good one I can recommend. Assassin 4. And they're pretty actually, they're like a very affordable company when it comes to their products. Cooling. I just like the old cooler design. You prefer more of the fan block, right? The traditional fan block that's on there. Assassin 4. Let's see if their website works though. The Xeon coolers. Here we go. Now this is it. Doesn't say the price on it. They have the focus display experience. Here it is. Something like this is also nice too. 320 by 240. Let's see how much the pricing is, since of course the website's not going to say it because it's going to vary. So we'll look that up and see if we can find a price for it. Oh, it's just, of course they don't have it. But more than likely it would be affordable. Or maybe it's just not out yet. That's what it probably is. Let's highlight this and we'll copy it. And see if we can find this one at least. The Akasa they still sell for the mounting stuff and the fans for that CPU cooler. Okay, so it's up on eBay. I see some on eBay. 210 to 215 average from what it looks like on the eBay side. And the shopping side, here we go. Microless is about 143, which is decent. So these are the average pricing that you can see for this type of cooler. If you're thinking of something like this. So it's like around it's crazy like how the different price range it is. You got one that's like only 126, but that store might be sketchy. You know what's crazy? Like you have a lot of these stores that will advertise onto Google, but then they allow these sketchy stores to advertise this way. So, but it's an adjustable mounting kit, so you can use the same socket on a 765 up to a socket 1200. Yeah, the only ones that you wouldn't have a hard time adjusting when it comes to Intel is the 1200, I believe. It was the LGA 1200 to the LGA 1700. And speaking of, you should be giving the full name and the product name. Okay, yeah, so this is the Deepcool LQ360 liquid cooling 360 millimeter radiator. And it seems like it's, I know Deepcool comes out with great coolers. This is on Microless, and they're selling it for $143.26. Oh yeah, I know. I kind of do it the lazy way, right? Yeah, let me try that. I will try that instead of just doing it that way. Okay, so we'll try to look this up again, but this time we'll put in the full name. So we'll just copy this, and we'll call Deepcool. Thermal take. It still doesn't come up. It comes up on Deepcool, but it doesn't have it on. Oh, they have a version 2. That really helps. And when it comes to Kit Guru, they have one. But this is, again, this is someone else that's just trying it. I don't know if it's actually out or not. Here's one on eBay, $136. But this is an ARGB one. But yeah, it doesn't look too bad. I feel Deepcool products are definitely like one of the better ones for sure when it comes to it. Change the focus. For some reason, the camera loves to look at the PC. But I was thinking about putting the 5070 on a vertical mount. But I am worried about the possibility of melting thermal. I would honestly say when it comes to the 5070, I wouldn't worry about it too much. The case is very minimal. Like when it comes to Gigabyte's issue, so far I haven't really seen any issues when it comes to thermal paste leaking or anything like that. It's only happened, I'd say, like that one time, that one weird incident. Or no, it happened to a couple people. But that was in the beginning stages, like when the 50 series first came out. And I think more than likely that's settled. Worst cases, worse is having it to send it into Gigabyte and having them replace it. But usually I know Gigabyte's pretty good with that. Like you don't really have an issue with them like sending in products and getting it back relatively quickly within like about 2 weeks, I think it is. But when it comes to the 5070 Ti, when it comes to sitting it, if you choose to do that whole setup, I wouldn't worry about it too much. Yeah, I think it's not for sale either, Takuma. I don't think it's, I think they have the product out, but it's just not out to the public just quite yet. But more than likely, that is going to be, that's going to be a decent product for sure. And usually Deepcool's like pretty affordable when it comes to their CPU coolers as well. But if you're in a rush to get a CPU cooler, if you already have like your PC components together, I'd certainly say it's a good idea to probably go with the MSI one so far, or you go with the Valkyrie one too as well. That's a decent one. So I am a PC parts distributor in Singapore. I want to know, why do our clients need a powerful GPU for their game when an average latest GPU is fine for us? So now, if your clients need a more powerful GPU, it could be for a lot of reasons. Now, it depends on the type of monitor that they're using. It could be a very powerful one. Well, not a powerful one, but a very demanding monitor, and which will require a bit more GPU usage. Now, if they're using like, that's more than likely what the case is, or they have multiple displays where they do take up quite a bit of resources. I am nervous with the ASUS card. The Astro RTX 5090 weighs a ton. I mean, literally. So how much more heavier is it compared to the RTX 5090 AORUS Master, I have to say? I am curious about that. 50. So for gaming. So Takuma, boss, I am tired. It's funny too because it seems like it never ends. I'm really excited for this, the Gigabyte X3D boards, because when they come out, they seem like they're going to be quite decent. X3D motherboards. I just got to take a look at these beauties once again here. And let's take a look. Right here. It's funny, they're up on Newegg already, actually. They have the X870E AORUS Elite X3D AM5 for $379. That's actually pretty good. Let's take a look, guys. Because I don't mean to tempt anyone out there, but that's not bad. You get a $379. It's already released. I didn't know they were released already. And here it is. It's quite the beauty, right? Take a look at that. Look at that craftsmanship. The only thing it's missing is some cherry wood. It needs some cherry wood inside of that motherboard. Same thing with the back panel. It'd be better if it was wood. Now, we have the... I can't tell. I can tell next week Saturday, but in kilos, not pounds. Stop putting me on the spot with Giga. I know. I don't need it, right? Oh, appreciate the donation, Caprion. So 32 gigabytes of Gigabyte DDR4 or G.Skill or 64 DDR4 G.Skill in 2025 or 2026. Okay, so for this, I would say in 2026 when it comes to DDR5. Now, I know it can get a bit tricky because you're probably thinking that you're going to need more capacity. But in reality, you need to have more speed. So when it comes to DDR4, you can take full advantage of 32 gigabytes. More than likely, you would be fine. You would only go 64 gigabytes if you are going to be doing something like video editing. And again, like once I recommend to go DDR4, there's a couple of issues I do have to bring up when it comes to the memory side. Now, when it comes to the memory side, just to let you know, it is going to get more costly when it comes to DDR4 or when it comes to any type of legacy hardware. Reason being is because it's not being bought up as much. It's going to increase the cost to make it. If you're able to get it in the used market, that's great. But again, once again, I highly recommend just go AM5. You'll save a lot more money in that direction because you'll end up on spending more money on hardware that will just end up aging on you to the point where you can't use it. If you do plan to use it for some sort of gaming use, I highly recommend. I would rather you go 32 gigabytes of DDR5 and you'll have a much better experience compared to being on legacy hardware. I can give you a more detailed answer for certain if you go into Discord, and I can certainly help you out with that. And hopefully we can guide you into getting a decent PC build. Now, is baby oil a absolutely. If you add some baby oil, that will also be a great. We'll experiment with that. How's that sound, Squeeze? So let's go ahead and go here. So here in the tailored computing size, why using this? Because he could always experiment, right? So here we go with the back of the motherboard. Rear easy button here, and no problem at all, Cameron. So 5 USB 3.2 Gen 2. See, my question is, when do you think all of these USB-A ports will eventually turn to USB-C? Because it seems like that's going to be more than likely the case. It'll be nicer once that does happen. It has the sensor panel, front panel QC up to 65 watts for power delivery, and it does have RGB fusion and hi-fi audio. And this is all for $329. And the VRM is also a decent advantage, which is at 16.2 plus 2 as the new X3D Turbo mode, as they introduce when it comes to these X3D motherboards that you can experience a much larger performance up to 10 to 15%. So if you choose to do a PC build, this actually might not be a bad start, as it's only, again, at 369. Plus it has the M.2 easy latching, and it does have the easy latch plus. So we could take, and again, it's only at 379. Now their more higher end one, which is their X3D Ice Edition, which is really sick looking. Take a look at that. Like, can you imagine doing, that would be pretty dope to do an ice build like this. If it's all stealth. Well, I think USB doesn't die out very quickly, but USB-C is getting more and more common. Depends on what manufacturers are doing. Yeah, I'm really curious about it, because I just feel like I do like the convenience of using USB-C. I feel that when it comes to, I feel like more and more manufacturers are going to end up going this direction. But I do expect eventually USB-C to take over. But you know what? I think you make a valid point, because I'm thinking of it more than likely, if we do see it, it probably won't be until the next generation. I bet the first people to do it, this is just a wild guess here, and you let me know what you guys think too, that more than likely the first people that we see end up doing that first is going to be Intel when they come out with their 15A processors. Reason why I say that is because they're going to be the type to want to be more groundbreaking. And since it would make more sense for them to do it too, because since they advertise themselves, and as we saw earlier from the slides from Intel, as they advertise themselves for being like the top in content creation, it would make a lot more sense for them to have a lot more USB-C ports for their motherboards, for their 15A processor. Because if they do that, then that can certainly sell a lot more into the content creation side, if they choose to go that realm. Now, I think that would certainly help them out. I wonder if next year, if they start trying to do the push already, because it already does exist when it comes to like DDR6. I don't think they would be the ones to push. I don't think they would be the ones to push PCI Express 6 just yet. But I wouldn't be surprised if they would want to be the first ones to kind of hop into the new technology right away. Just try to be AMD, because they know AMD will still be producing these AM5 boards for at least another several years. And because that they might use that as their advantage point, at least. What's up, Ezekiel? I'm glad to see you. USB-C is also smaller, faster, and also lasts longer somehow, as long as you don't bend the USB-C charger. Will last me up to 1 to 2 years. Yes. And that's the thing. The nice thing, it's really nice and easy for management, and it doesn't bend quite as easy as USB-A. And that was always an issue. You had something that's sticking out a little bit too much, then it could pretty much bend pretty easy. I'm doing great, Ezekiel. I hope you've been doing well. Hope you got your morning coffee with you. Squeeze. So 32 gigabytes of RAM will soon get the minimum of GTA 6. I think so. It's already a demand. 32 gigabytes, believe it or not, is already a demand for it. The demand isn't from, believe it or not, it's a Borderlands 4 that is quite demanding. Takuma actually has tested it. If you check out his page, he actually has tested it on an RTX 5090. So you get a decent idea of what it's like to run something that demands 32 gigabytes for the best performance, which is pretty insane. I believe he tested it on a 4K res. 4K res up to, I believe, on his new setup, which is a LG monitor, which is pretty dope. LG TV practically, and 4K. So this is a killer system. You can run about 5 years or longer. So more than likely, yes. Not gonna lie, it's going to be about 32 gigabytes, recommended for 12 years now. 32 gigabytes has been, again, I feel this has to do with when it comes to the developers. They haven't been fully, truly optimizing the games. And the reason being is because Borderlands 4 was originally supposed to beat out GTA 6. Because remember, GTA 6 was supposed to release next month in October of 2025. But now it's being delayed till May 2026. Hopefully no more delays. We're getting pretty close to that date anyway. But it's because Borderlands 4 had a very short window to develop this game. They only had like really several months to really do it, and forced everyone to try to push this out into September. And originally they were going to charge $79.99 for this game. And I feel that they're going to charge more. I do get the idea. Of course, there's always going to be inflation added into pricing. But I feel that when it comes to the gaming aspect, at least if you're going to release a game that's going to cost about $79.99 USD, then it might as well be optimized. Optimized to be able to play it. See, there will be no complaints if the game's optimized, if there's no day one patches, if it actually works decent and about at least a decent 80% of rigs out there, then there will be a lot less complaints because of it. So you want to make sure, these manufacturers have to make sure that the quality goes up, because it's just going to end up hurting them in the long run, because you have these other game developers where they're only going to charge like $19.99 and you get a decent game such as Hollow Knight or Silksong, or you get a decent game such as like Expedition 33 where that game was only $40 when it was on release, but yet it performs better than a AAA manufacturer. Now that's the big issue when it comes to the game industry and their demands for having tough hardware. So like, just like Borderlands, I don't understand why they have to give anyone, especially the dev, saying that you need to have better hardware in order to play our game. Just like how can they not optimize Borderlands 4 properly onto a Nintendo Switch 2? How can they not develop games properly, especially in 2025? With you have assistance even with AI at this day and age. So 16 gigabytes was the minimum from 5 years ago, but now it's like 32 gigabytes was recommended. 64 would be the new standard, or 48 gigabytes to be fair, because I have 48 gigabytes. Definitely quite a difference maker. My mom plays Borderlands 2 and 3. So yeah, it's my first gaming PC, and I would rather drop the money on a good system and be set. Absolutely. When you have it, well, I can't say stop. Yeah, yeah, that's true. And okay, so Zay X, he actually asked a great question. So when is AM6 going to release? Or this isn't AM6 board anyway, by the way. If anyone's curious, it's still AM5. But I'll talk about this board in a little bit, right after I explain this whole AM6 debacle here. So when it comes to AM6, do expect it to happen in CES 2026. In fact, they'll probably have a roadmap. Don't think it's going to be AMD Ryzen 10,000 series requires AM6 motherboard. In fact, it's just going to still require just AM5. So if anyone is building on AM5, you don't have to worry. Your PC build is still going to be great for at least another 4 to 5 years. So don't worry about it. In fact, we actually spoke about it earlier. AM4 is still alive and kicking. In fact, they still developed processors for AM4, which is the Ryzen 5100, which is a 4-core 8-thread processor. Again, makes more sense for the South American region. But anyway, the point is, AM6 will more than likely release, and when it does, they're going to push it for something like around like 20. It would have to be, let's see, 26, probably 2028, between 2028 to 2029. And when AM6 does release, definitely expect a big shift when it comes to the hardware side for sure. Then they're definitely going to introduce like DDR6 For sure, then you can expect something like PCI Express 6 to be also introduced. Even though it feels like PCI Express 5 and DDR5 is still kind of new, technically it has been out for a little while, and more than likely you're going to see that new generation happen when it comes to AM6. So if you're waiting for the AM6 line, expect it to be released like late 28, late into early 2029. So it's going to still be quite a bit away. So the 5070 Ti order has been placed. It will be delivered on Thursday. That is awesome, Wasabi. That is awesome. That order actually went through, and I am looking forward to you getting it. My bank, that's how all our bank accounts look when we get some fresh PC hardware and you get addicted to PC building. And that's just how it goes. It's insane. In fact, it's just like even looking at this is tempting enough when we take a look at this beautiful motherboard here, which is going to be this beautiful ice, where it has this dual USB 4 Type-C setup. So there you go. You got 4 of them, which is now pushing... dual USB 4. So it's 2 of them. So that's the X870E standard there. 10 gigabits of LAN, USB 3.2, and Wi-Fi 7, Wi-Fi Easy Plug, which is nice. And you have immersive audio. More than likely, it's going to be a very decent audio driver. As a front USB-C panel, QC USB 3065, and a sensor link RGB fusion. But it's a beautiful looking board, I gotta say. Holding my hands, nothing beats a Jet 2. Yeah, Wasabi. Bro, it's so painful. I know exactly how you guys feel. Undead Arrow. I know we talked previously, but I have another question, laugh aloud. I was leaning towards the Radeon 9070 XT, but now I'm second guessing. Would you go 5070 Ti or 9070 XT? Now, I remember you said specifically if you're using it for gaming, I would highly recommend for the 9070 XT. You won't be disappointed at all. It performs excellent. But if you are thinking about doing anything like streaming, or if you're thinking about doing anything like video editing, then it's a decent idea to get a 5070 Ti. Only get it if you know for sure that you're going to be doing other things besides gaming. The other advantage also is, I can say, if you are thinking 5070 Ti, is if you are planning to get like a very decent monitor. If you're thinking of getting like, say, a 4K 120 monitor, it might be best to get like something like a 5070 Ti, or a 5080 to be honest. Then it would be the better choice. If you were to get like a 1440p display, you'd be perfectly happy. Even up to like 100 hertz or 180 hertz, you would be perfectly happy with the RX 9070 XT. Now, yes, I was looking at the PSU on Black Friday. I already have the PSU 850 watts for a white build. That is awesome. Hey chat, what's wrong with my PC? Every time I go to the BIOS after restart, the PC won't turn on unless I power flush it. Upgrade from the i5 12600K RTX 4070 to the i7 14600K RTX 5070. Okay, so every time you restart your PC, it goes to the BIOS after restart. Are you getting any type of code, I have to say? So all you did really, oh, okay. You know what, I can tell you what it is because you also upgraded your processor. Make sure to update your BIOS. Update your BIOS, Phasmi. If you upgrade your BIOS, that should resolve your issue. It practically has to reset. It's more than likely it's still thinking you have a 12600 in there. Yes, it needs to reset. That's a good point, Unreal Champ. And that's exactly what I'm thinking. If you update your BIOS, more than likely your problems will resolve. Usually when you update it, it will also reset your BIOS as well. But please update it. I highly recommend it. Don't compare my bank account to you live in Switzerland. I live in Italy, which has the lowest salaries in the continent. I need my October salary to pay back the ASUS card on the my credit card. I get it. I get it. And you know what? Speaking of which, Wasabi, I gotta say, like, I've heard a lot of great things. I had actually had the friend that was actually want to go traveling. He actually went out to Italy, and the first place he had to land out was in Rome. In fact, he said the best place that he felt that he visited in Italy was the Amalfi Coast out of all of it. What's your thoughts of it? So, when it comes to this motherboard, if you want a high-powered board, and I'm really curious about this whole AI overclocking side, because it has the AORUS AI Snatch, PCI Express 5, has all the X870E features here, plus the new turbo mode. It just looks like quite a lovely board at a wonderful $650. And it's tempting to hit this button right here. This really tempting to hit the add to cart because I do want to do the Project Stealth, but this obviously wouldn't match the requirements for it. For Project Stealth, we would have to look for a board where there's no ARGBs. Just in case if we decide to get it without waiting on the brand, because the brand's just taking a bit. I need to pay back the ASUS card. Oh my god. I was in South Italy at the coast. Good memory. I bet it was nice. I see a lot of nice things about it. Southern Italy is during the summer is a good destination. There are plenty of places to see and food to eat, but you have to schedule in advance or you'll be scalped. I feel like that's the biggest thing. It's probably a very decent idea to go then. So you would suggest in the summertime. It's funny because that's one of the destinations we certainly want to check out too, is Italy. And but this board looks not too bad. I'm just curious. Let's take a look at some AMD boards real quick, because if we take a look for like non-ARGB boards, which they're going to be a dime a dozen. Oh wow. Even the Tai Chi board here, I'm looking at it, save 25% if you go with the Tai Chi Lite AM5. This is the board where I highly suggest do not put a 9800 X3D in this board. This is the questionable board right here. Let's see. Let's look for, maybe they have, do they have the Stealth series? Let's take a look. Let's look at Gigabyte Stealth. Gigabyte Stealth. Oh, why is it under? That's so weird. It went under operating system. There we go. What is this? Maybe their search engine needs a bit of work here. It's Stealth B850. If they got it. There we go. Yeah, they definitely. So this one's the Stealth Ice Edition, $264. Actually, not a bad deal. This is pretty nice. But this would be nice for like an all-white build, I gotta say. Where is the Gigabyte X3D board with the insane SSD? You know what? Yeah, it's just like what Takuma said. I don't think it's quite on sale yet. That motherboard is quite hefty. But you know what would be nicer? If we had something more like a wood heatsink. Can you imagine a nice wooden heatsink? Just carve it out just like how we mentioned earlier, right guys? The wooden heatsink. It wouldn't, you don't have to worry about wood heating up. It would just stay at a very decent temperature. It's not like steel, right? So it can stay nice and cool. Put a nice thermal pad on it, and then have a nice piece of oak sit on top of the SSD. I would imagine it wouldn't be too hard to make. It would be hilarious, right? So let's take a look. Let's take a look at this one. 17.8. No. So they have the ice ones, it seems. Let's try X870E. All right, so the wooden heatsink, a part of metal has to dissipate with heat to a wooden. It would be very unique. Wooden heatsink. So if anybody's just coming in, feel free to ask any questions when it comes to PC building. And if you have, if you are planning to do any upgrades and have any troubleshooting issues or if you're having trouble with your PC, you can feel free to ask. I'm Chris Mizo. We talk about PC and tech. Thank you for coming in. Or if you're thinking of having a wood chassis or doing add some sort of wood to into your PC, you can feel free to ask. So a nice scent from charcoaling a grilled Samsung 9100 Marshmallow Edition. It does make me a bit curious to see if they got if they actually got like a wooden heatsink. So they have the ice. I guess it's you know what? Let's try Project Zero. See if I feel like Project Zero, they didn't really push too hard because everything's almost like they have the X870. Jeez, that price is insane. Take a look at this, guys. It's a really nice board, but it's a special order. It's $1330 for MSI motherboard, godlike. Really nice looking though. Have you seen the ultimate version of the AORUS Ice motherboard? Those things are limited. Wow, that's even more insane. No, I didn't see those. But this is pretty nice though. I gotta say, it is sick. I bet you it looks amazing. Yeah, you know what? You have piqued my curiosity. I will certainly look it up real quick. The AORUS Ice motherboard, Ultimate AORUS Gigabyte Ultimate. I recently switched to Linux and love it compared to Windows. I use Pop OS and love it. Which Linux distro would you recommend? Now, which one are what are you using it for specifically for Linux? It all depends. Now, each Linux does have its value depending on what you're trying to do. Now, they have Ubuntu is really good if you're like just starting off. Mint is also an excellent one. Those are like the top ones. Like if you're really starting off with. Also, what else? I can't think of the other one. Mainly gaming. So if you are mainly gaming, have you tried? It's slipping my mind. Have you tried Bazzite? Or I know it's a bit more of a closed OS. Well, it's not really closed, but it's still Linux. But if you use Bazzite, that's actually really great for gaming because it actually is almost like Steam OS. But of course, it's more open based. They have it for Windows. You definitely check it out. I've experimented with AMD and it's excellent. Let's see. Wouldn't recommend the MSI Mag Godlike X870E. They have series with too much problems. Yeah, I agree. But there's been a reason why I stay away from like the larger sides of like MSI, like the premium side. I feel like MSI is decent. I don't feel like they're the best in my opinion, for sure. Like if I were to pick two brands, it would definitely be ASUS and Gigabyte. If anyone is curious. I can't find this ultimate one. Where is it at? I bet you if I type in $4,000, it'll come up. Let's see. Oh, Micro Center. No, that's not it. This makes me want to go to Micro Center. But it doesn't look like it's $309. That's great. But this is just the X870. Extreme Ice. That's what it's called. Okay. Extreme Ice. Woo! There it is. Man, that does look different. Take a look at that. That is nice. That is pretty dope. That is really amazing looking, I gotta say. That's unique. Look at the box. It looks like something you would get at a Gucci store. Man, that is sick though. I do like the colors. They even come with a toolkit. Now that's insane. It comes with a toolkit. Yeah, that is dope though. I really like it. It has like a real nice, elegant look. Yeah. Like if it came with MSI, like if I were to get it, I always recommend the Carbon. MSI Carbon's good, and Tomahawk is decent too. Like those two boards, I would say are excellent if I had to pick through MSI. That I know that's what I like when seeing that toolkit. It made me feel like, man, that's a dope toolkit to have. But then again, the motherboard is $1,435. It's quite up there. Nobody reviewed it quite yet, which is pretty insane. It means somebody, but this is the Z790. So imagine, I wonder if they have the, okay, let me erase that, and let me try to put X870E. No, they don't have it. But the Z790, they had it. Man, they would make a killing if it was on the AM5 platform. Let's try AM5. No. So the Z790, they have it. They just don't have it. So that means they might have it under the Z890. They have to. They got to be selling. Someone has to sell it. So the biggest thing, well, we all know this one. This is like the next biggest thing, which is going to be the AORUS Extreme, which is also pretty dope. Now it's a very dope design. Take a look at that. Look at the coolers. I really like that. On top of the RAM. Look at the trouble code. This is quite an amazing build. Take a look back here. For consumers on a budget, but like the MPG X870Es. Yeah. I agree. It's decent. They're decent boards. I wouldn't say, again, like personally to me, I know it's our own recommendations. Personally, in my opinion, I do like I always liked ASUS and Gigabyte when it comes to their boards. They just know how to make a motherboard, I feel. For some reason, I just feel like MSI is like another type of level. Like a different level. Not necessarily bad, but I feel like that they're just like how you described as decent. But man, this actually makes me want a board like this. It's quite insane. $900. It got one person gave it one. I wonder why. Let's see why. Usually impressed by Gigabyte. $1,000 down the drain. Impressive packaging, like the ease of setup after connecting custom water cooling. Used a jumper in the fans. All seemed okay, but when then at prime time, nothing. Not even an error code, a few straight LCDs, but nothing sensible. Changed out power supply, double checked out connection, tried isolating components, and still no joy. I bought this motherboard 45 days ago, but wasn't able to build the new workstation until last week. Now Newegg won't even take a return. Did I mention $1,000? Oh, wow. I feel, but I don't know why. Like anytime I read like these type of reviews, Most of the time, I feel like it's a user error. Dr. Blitz, so you feel like Z890 is the way. So is it true that NVMEs can take over? Yes, it is absolutely true. And the way that happens is it doesn't matter what type of motherboard that you're using. It all depends on the it all depends on which lanes are being occupied. If you're, for example, if you're using, say, the ASUS X870E, if you're occupying both the second and third lane for when it comes to NVMe, you will actually split the power from the PCI Express bus. Same with Gigabyte. I believe MSI is 3 and 4, if I'm not mistaken. It will split the power. So you just want to be mindful of where you install the NVMe. So I see Dr. Blitz is a Intel fan at Z890 or bust. So yes, the NVMe can rob your... Exactly. But I gotta say, I thank everybody. What's up, XMEX? Thanks everybody for coming in here. Nobody's selling the AORUS toolkit. May just drop it down to 2K. I really like that kit though. That is nice. And I kind of feel it's only one review. I'm surprised only one person reviewed it. As I feel this is going to be user error. Let's take a quick. I always like to check the names out. Just to double check here. So he had the Gigabyte Z690. He gave that a decent review 4. And this one, okay. So he gave two decent reviews by saying he got no power. But for some reason, I feel like this is more user error here. So nobody's selling the AORUS X870E, or do you use AMD slots when the power will be split? Wasabi, are you buying? Who would so Wasabi has the Ferrari and Takuma has the Lamborghini. Building a PC, I just got here. No, we were just talking about motherboards here. In fact, we were just trying to figure out something because we were looking at just high-end motherboards, and one of the things that really stuck out was the Ice Ultimate, which was a design that Gigabyte had. It's really beautiful. In fact, let me see. I don't have it still open up here. Let's go look for it again. It's by Z790. But it's the Ice Ultimate. Really nice motherboard. Oh, wait. This isn't it. Where is it? Here it is. This is it. AORUS Ice. Buy me AORUS 992 GT3 RS and I am good. So take a look at that. Very premium design. You see you got the nice frosted colors here. And it has like this really decent LCD. Elegant looking. I mean, look how nice it comes in the box. And what really stands out, the cables look excellent. Even the ports look... It just looks wonderful. And then when you look here at the toolkit, it even comes with one. But then again, it is a $1,400 motherboard. It's pretty crazy because it seems like, okay, so this is why it's so expensive, because it's also coming from, not from Newegg itself, but let's see if we can find it somewhere else. Out of curiosity here. See, they have a black one too. Let's see. Oh, they have it on. So currently they have it up on eBay for like a little over $2,000. It seems that the closest one would be this one. I wonder if this has everything featured in there. It's crazy how much the pricing is go for it. It's like a collector's item at this point. Yeah, I'm not spending. Yeah, you're spending quite a bit on a toolkit, practically. Yeah, very nice looking, but again, it's still on a Z790, you know? Yeah, yeah, pretty much. It's just like buying a GPU. Here's the deal: we buy the card, and I get the toolkit, and you get the motherboard. All right. Yeah. Okay. So you get the Wasabi, Ferrari 488 Special, and Lamborghini. You know what's funny? They've had PC components where they're like after designed like practically like after a car. I think Ferrari had one, like a Ferrari type of motherboard, or a Lamborghini. I know they both had like their own special designs. In fact, they even had like designs to where they had like laptops. I remember they had Ferrari laptops before. Lamborghini had some like special edition ones too, but I don't really see it too often now. I'm not sure if they do it anymore. I don't think they do. I mean, we can look for it because I remember this back in the day. Yeah, that's right. That's what it was. Liam Lee did do a collaboration with Lamborghini. This is what I remember. I don't know if you guys remember this, but they did. ACR did a collaboration with Ferrari, and it looked something like this. Get the nice little. Yeah, that's it right there. There's almost no difference even with something like that in a 40. Oh, did he? He actually did a build with it. I'm curious how it looks like. The Liam Lee Lamborghini. Let's take a look. It's probably, I bet it's really nice. Yeah, they still exist. They still got the Predator line. I got to say, the Predator line is underrated, though. It's a great line that they do have. I got to say, they had great peripherals, like great monitors. It's like, I feel like they ended up like hurting themselves more than anything. And I think it's sort of their fault. They still have laptops. It's all Predator edition. That's pretty dope. I like that. I do like that screen. Like for ACR. And let's take a look. I just want to see this case real quick. They got a carbon fiber cover right here. That's interesting. And again, limited edition. Makes me curious if Micro Center has one, just like in stock, because they usually have like a lot of Liam Lee cases. They even have like the glass replacement panels in Micro Center. Those builds are pretty cool, but most people aren't buying it. Yeah, most people aren't. That is the true fact. And dang, what was I looking up again here? Now it slipped my mind what I was just about to look up. What was it? Oh yeah, it's here. The Predator line. This is where they need to push more with this. Because they're not very good at marketing themselves when it comes to this. Like, they actually have really decent monitors. Like, here goes one, the Predator 257. You can install the case with a Manly RTX 50. Gallardo card. That's funny. So $1,600 for this mini LED mod. That's a little much. This has to be outdated information. Maybe they stopped making for mini LED. I don't know about that. A new vision in 3D gaming. That's interesting. When eBay, Liam Lee does the... Really? That's insane. $400 to $700 for a Liam Lee case. Spadio Lab. So does anyone... If you're interested in like a 3D monitor without glasses, practically you can get the Predator Spadio Lab. So they're kind of like I could see why they're falling off. They're kind of out of touch a little bit here. This is a bit more into today's market, but here we go. OLED monitors. Okay, so once they were like, yeah, they really got to get back in the bowl. Let's see, Predator X. If they don't, they're going to end up hurting themselves for sure. Most people will go with performance components and be smart with the money they got. I don't hate them, but nobody's going to spend a $1,000 GPU and waste another expensive $200 plus on a case. That's true. Most people will focus a bit more on the most important aspect when it comes to PC hardware, and that's always the GPU. That is true, XMech. That is a very deep. But yeah, definitely glad you came in. But unfortunately, guys, I gotta end the stream. Hopefully, I could end up streaming a bit later if I can. I do like the idea. I do want to get back into answering some questions while gaming for sure. We could certainly do something like that. I definitely want to revamp a little bit of the setup to make it a bit more compatible for that. This whole studio setup anyway. And hopefully you guys certainly enjoyed the stream. I certainly hope everyone did enjoy it and had all their questions answered. And if anybody is interested in joining in our Discord, it's right down in the description box down below. Feel free to join it. There's no extra cost or nothing like that. If anyone's interested in the Ally handhelds that are going to be released, they are down in the description box down below. And you can also feel free to post up any of the pictures of your PC builds, or again, feel free to ask any troubleshooting questions that you have when it comes to your PC in Discord. But thank everybody for coming in, and hopefully everybody has a great weekend so far. And I will certainly Discord you guys out there if I end up going back live again. So thanks again so much for watching. This is Chris Mizo signing out.